Hello, family. My name is Nthabiseng Wajana and I'm a spiritual medium. Thank you for your support over the time that we've been together. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your participation, really, in everything that we have been doing, even in the business aspect of what the channel and what the teachings are all about, and just generally your overall support for me as an individual. You have no idea how much you build me up each and every day. Thank you for that. Thank you for the testimonies that you are sharing about the spiritual clarity that you are having. And that is the whole uh vision about why we come through every now and then when we do have the chance to do so. And thank you for whatever transaction thing that we have done in all our lives. I appreciate it greatly. It really it really makes sense. It really makes sense every day why I was called for this work, and I appreciate it. And so let us come into the business of today. And the business of today is talking about go phahla for impact. And there are people who would ask a question, Gogo, how do I phahla? And if you Google that, you can find thousand ways of how to phahla. But what I want you to have an understanding of is the basics of what works in go phahla. And the question, how do I phahla? It is essentially talking about what do I bring in the discussion with ancestors? What are the tools? So if this was a cell phone conversation or a Zoom meeting or whatever, what will give me capacity to become an adequate participant in the discussion with the Badimus? So if I have a cell phone, I would really need for it to be fully charged or at least have a decent battery life. I would need a good signal. I would need data. I would need airtime. I would need a clear light, depending on what kind of a conversation we are having. And I would have the link to the Zoom or the Teams meeting that we are going to be having. So these are the tools that you need to have so that there is a good flow of dialogue and a good flow of understanding. Right. And so when a person says, how do I partner? We then bring the props, and you would then have boom, 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 snuff. Uh, I'm not coming into this teaching as a business person. I'm coming into this teaching as a teacher. So I'm not after the sales. If I were, I would be bringing you our Tebing International snuff that is activated and herb infused. But I'm bringing this one that you would normally see me using when we're doing our river rituals, our ocean rituals, our mountain rituals, our cave rituals. It is just your typical snuff so that you are also having the confidence that your own snuff is adequate. So we will then have the snuff as a thing that has an element of the earth. Obviously, I've been using the snuff for a very long time. It has an element of, it is one of the elements of what governs the entire earth, what governs the entire nature. And that is the reason why I decided to go and do this teaching outside. So we have snuff. Snuff is coming out of a herb that is called tobacco, and it's a herb that is coming out of the ground. So it is filled with the connection of the earth. Apart from that, in African custom practice culture, we used to have it as a recreational thing. Our grandfathers, our great grandfathers, and our great grandmothers used to sniff snuff, smoke snuff, put it in their mouth. It used to be a recreational thing. When people have not seen you for a very long time, they will like bring the snuff, bring the alcohol, then you will welcome them with slaughtering of the chicken, and we will be all merry. right? So it was one of the ways that we would calm our nerves, or our people will calm our nerves, so that we are talking nicely under the influence of narcotics. So, so uh, then we will have a candle. This is a candle. I could not find a white candle. All I found was our new Tevin candles that are coming in a jar. And so, if curiosity is killing the cat, it shouldn't. This is just a written pray for cleansing of the space. So what you would do is that you would do your meditation, and you will do your prayer with it involved. The symbolism of the candle, any other candle, even yours is adequate at home. I say, if you do not know, white is always safe to. It's always a safe one to use. A color, or a white color candle is always safe. Now, you have this. This is a representative of the light. This, as you are praying, as you are conversing, as you are establishing whatever it is that you are requesting, asking about, and wanting to download in the spirit, this brings light to the conversation. Because now the most important thing is the fire aspect of this thing. Earth, fire, water, and wind. So these are all the elements that are governing the entire planet that we are in, and you constantly need to be in the presence of either of those elements in order for your spirit to get the peace and to thrive. One other way of me explaining that, in African culture, there's a thing about storytelling, disseminating of information from one generation to the other. People would sit around the fire and talk about, share information about the family tree, share information about who our enemies are, share information about our totems, share information about our clan, just share general information. And I normally look at this thing and say, this was therapeutic sessions for our African people, conversations around the fire, and just generally, baby, how was your day? Me Madume, how was your day? Our Papa Madume, the fields where we discovered a snake in the fields, and we did this, and or the sales were good at the fields, or whatever it is, conversation that they would have. But when I look at it, I say that this was a therapeutic session, because if we are talking about things that we need to let go of, and we are talking about the fire, whatever that you are saying, you are sort of burning the issue. You are sort of nullifying its existence. Whatever that you are establishing in that discussion, you are sort of um refining it, bringing the furnace to refine or to build. Because all elements have a way of creating, and all elements have a way of destroying. And so, whatever you establish in the conversation of the fire, it stays. Whatever you destroy in the conversation of the fire, it gets destroyed. And so that is why we people use ash, they use siwasho, right? And that is why whenever you yourself are using ash, it is important for you to talk about what you want this ash to do. We are constantly consuming things that are called holy ash, and this is burnt offerings of some things that were done somewhere, and we do not know what was said. And that is why now your discourse, your agenda into whatever it is that you are talking about, becomes very important. And that is why when you go to your prayer mountains, people will advise you to burn something, so that you can then become a connection of whatever it is that you were discussing in there at the mountain. So if you are taking the wood from the mountain and doing whatever and burning these things and praying, and then after that we would say, take the ash of whatever you were praying for and go bath with it, because now you've established something, but you still want for it to go with you in whatever it is that you have established. Don't pray for your things and then just leave them there. So let them follow you at least for 3 days. Bath with those things, and that is why we infuse duasho in some of the products that we give you. I did talk a little bit there about the fire, but I wanted you to understand that it works even post what you were trying to talk about. And now the other element that works best is this one, is water. Is water. Now some people would say have libekere and enamel cup because it's an African way of doing it. Um, I don't know. I don't know if we should be pedantic about maybe in terms of familiarity. Like if I had a magogo that only used these things, maybe. But if I had somebody who was uh, accustomed to porcelain and they liked porcelain or glass and they just liked the finer things of in life, or they had access. Some of the things, we really want to keep them primitive because our people didn't have access and we have access. Can we move with the times? But anyway, let me explain the water. The water, 70% of the earth that we live in is made up of water, right? And 70% of your own body is made up of water. Therefore, water becomes a much more effective medium to transmit messages everywhere. And that is why, whether the spirits of your people have resided in water, or they have decided to dwell in the mountains, or they have decided to dwell um, in the field, you would always connect with the water that is in you, the water that is in them, the water that is all around, and it will be a very effective transmitter of messages because it's one element that 70% of everything that surrounds us on this earth, it is common in every one of us and in everything. So so people will like to ask, Coco, after I've paddled, what do I do with the water? You can either just discard the water if you were destroying certain things. If you were bringing things into establishing, if you're establishing things, then you can pretty much just bath with it, pour it in your bath water and bath. If you were praying for your health, you can drink the water, depending on what is the conversation that you are having around that. So I do not want to spend so much time on the props. I want to spend much time on paddling for impact. So you brought these things. You can even bring your maize meal and water, so that it represents that what we eat we are eating, what we are sniffing, what we are drinking we are drinking. The fire and the light, let it connect us. Those are the whole reasoning why we do the props that we do and we have the tools that we do. Now there are people who would then say, Gogo, I patlat, Gogo, I prayed, Gogo, I did these things and nothing worked. And it means that you are passing or wapasa, or you are sending libations out of what the history of your people is. And when you are doing certain things, you can do a right thing but fail at doing the right thing because you do not understand how to do it with impact. Let us come in, and I'm going to try to spend 5 more minutes into the main teaching. I went overboard with trying to explain the tools because it's always important for us to teach whenever there is a lack of understanding. So if you are a strategist, a consulted strategist, and a certain company hires you to come and bring change, as the strategist, what are you going to prepare? What are the steps that you're going to take? You need to understand the history of the company, the owners, the big people, the antagonist, the protagonist of this company, right? The people who are for, the people who are against this company. You need to understand your ancestors, who they are, the families, their enemies, and the people who favored them. You need to understand why the company existed and what problem they were trying to solve in the community that is serving them. You need to understand what was the special thing that your people specialize in, and what were they known for, and how were they, how was their relation in relation to other people in the community, right? And so you also need to understand what worked for them and what was their fall down. In a company strategy, you need to understand what is the thing, what is the thing that people will always come back for. If this is a fish and chips company, what is the thing that they will always come back for? Whether it's because the chips are unpeeled, or whether it is something, some spice that they put in, even if they can go and do a product development, what is the thing that people will always be known for? And that is what you also need to understand when you are talking to your ancestors. What is the thing that people decided that they are not going to like about that company? There are other companies, if you have the benefit of history, some companies were banned, they were boycotted. The certain things have happened because it's either we believed that the company A no hona le mpimpi, and then we boycotted the family. So what was the downfall of your people in this thing that we call life? Then the other thing that you need to understand is that what is the thing that this family will always want to have as a continuation of who they are. And so, if we say people must passa, and we do not understand that this family has had a history of sending libations to dark ancestors. And every time a person comes into spirit to do spiritual communication and transaction, they are like, "Ke kgopela mmereko. I'm asking for a job, I'm asking for a wife, I'm asking for children, I'm asking for a business, I'm asking for whatever it is that they need so that it can make their operational life, their day to day life better." But yet they don't understand that every time that somebody passed that in their family, there was a sacrifice of another being, there was a sacrifice of something, or they had to speak to the people of the light, of the darkness, in order for them to achieve. And they don't understand what was the source of where their people could make things happen from. And now, when we are told by Intabi there in social media, Intabi says Pastor, and you go not having the understanding of your family tree, the magic, the existence. Where did they move to? Why did they move? What were the people that were in favor of them? Who were the people that were fighting them? And what was the fight? And what was the favor? And who were our allies? So it is very important, ladies and gentlemen, to say, when you are speaking to ancestors, understand the family tree, understand the patterns, understand the curses, understand the things that have worked. And from there, when you are paddling, you are paddling for impact. So don't just come into spirit because you want a job and you want a wife and you want to have children and you want to have things that will benefit your day to day life, and you do not break the things that have made these things to become impossible in the first place for you, that they did not flow naturally. You had to go and seek the services of a spiritual practitioner to tell you about your ancestors. So do not be afraid of asking your ancestors who they are. And when you are bringing the conversation, you can come into my company as a strategist and just say, hey, how much are the ratings for a consultant? Can I charge you 750 or 1,000 rands per hour? Eh, and you don't show us that you have the understanding, and you do not tell us how you and I are going to grow as a company together with your strategy. So let us just not be about you asking from ancestors to feed into your things, and you do not understand who they are, and you do not repeat the mistakes that they made, that they repeated, and most importantly, you do not associate yourself with the people that have been enemies of your people. And most importantly, even much more important than the last point, you do not work on things that your family has never had. There are people who have been teachers. Your great grandfather has been a teacher. Your mang has been a teacher. Everybody has been a teacher. And that is a base for you. That is a base for you. So work on things that have happened in the family. Whether you are going to be a facilitator or a trainer or open a training company on the things that you have learned, or do something that has a base in your family. And that is one of the reasons why we are so unable to build generational wealth, because we want to believe that generational wealth comes from the things that we have learned cognitively. If I were to build generational wealth on my career as a journalist, apart from there's really no wealth as a journalist, and the career is dying with the emergence of social media, I'm already at a fail. But if I were to understand that my people were public speakers, my people were healers. My people were were councilmen at the tribal courts. My people were advisors. I'm already working on a base that works. And my people would want to live through me based on the things that they are familiar to them. And so they and I have some sort of a commonality. And if I want to build a generational, impactful dialogue for my ancestors so that my own children do not go through the blockages that I went into, then I'm able to have a discussion and phala for impact. Don't try to do anything strange. If your people were witches and they want you to phala and teach you the things that they're teaching you as a witch, that is your thing, Kintwako Reno, right? If your people were abathandazeli, learn from that gogo who used to pay tabana. Connect with her and say, what was it? How can I build on it? I am in this field. How can the magic of that family work for me wherever I am going? Right? We are not saying that you cannot be an engineer and start to be an engineer for planes because none of those people existed in your family. We are saying no, no. Have the strategy of the company, have the profile, have the family tree, have your antagonist and your protagonist, so that you know that when you are coming into spirit, you are going into spirit, understanding the language, they understand your language, and you are fixing certain patterns. If your people were hurt, you can't then if your people were broken in relationships, you can't just come and watch our perfect wedding every week and say, I want a husband that looks like this and does that and does that. No, break the pattern. Understand what hurt them. Why do you have so many matriarchs in your own family? What happened to the men? Then fix the lineages. Once we fix the lineages, once we fix the cries of our families, once we take out the things that have really worked for our families, then we can have a solid and an impactful discussion in the industry or in the realm of spirit. My name is Ntabise Mwajana, and thank you for coming through to the channel. I appreciate your love and everything else that you are doing in relation to my spirit. And I hope that whatever I come into your spirit with, it is received with the utmost purity, because that is how it is intended to come out of mine into yours. Thank you so much. Let's hope that going forward, we are pathing for impact with the knowledge that we have of our people, the pros and the cons, the do's and the don'ts, the antagonist and the protagonist, what worked and what did not work. Thank you so much.